Super glad you guys can make it. This is a back-to-back video. I posted a video yesterday and I thought of you guys. I thought of everyone who's watching and I f I figured I would drop another video just because I've been getting a lot of questions on how I'm consistently passing and getting funded with these different prop firms. So I think what's been super helpful for me, I'm going to dive right into it and I'm going to share my screen. I've already shared it for all the people that's in my Discord community, the trading floor, and I'll just share my screen so that it gives you guys a visual idea, but also I'm going to share with you guys vocally, verbally, my thoughts on everything one by one. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen now. Um, here is So here's my Discord. So now you can see this is going to be based off of trading intuition. Trading intuition is very important to me. This is just from my personal experience. This is not financial advice, but from personal experience, I believe intuition, trading with your intuition, implemented into the system, into your system is also important. Um, Especially with nowadays, it's almost like we live in a world full of ADHD. There's so many different moving parts on a daily basis. So the way that I implement intuition in my trading is I might say, it's 6 o'clock, market just opened, and there's many times where Asian session would move on gold, and typically there's a hot spot with gold, which starts around like 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if I see a spike or a move on gold that's not necessarily in my area of interest, but it might be heading towards my area of interest, then and a pair is at my area of interest around 9:30, the kill zone, then I would rather take it around that time rather than taking it versus taking it earlier. So patience comes into this as well, and having intuition and market experience and thousands of screen time is typically what's been helping me. Um, I've been, watching the markets for a very long time, so I'm pretty familiar on how it works or how it moves. Not 100%. Nobody knows the market at 100% on how it's gonna move. Maybe if you're an inside trader, but I believe even if you're an inside trader, you're not gonna know 100% on the price and time every single time that it's gonna move. It just seems virtually impossible. But let's see. Let's take a look. Intuition, pattern recognition. Obviously, that comes into, if you were to think about like how the market's gonna move instead of the fundamental aspect, if you want, you can start thinking about how I think about it, which is aside from fundamental, if we just talk specifically on price action. You're looking at the market at a, higher time frame. That's going to give you an idea of the direction that you should probably that you might want to start looking at. Let's say you think the market is bearish, and because the higher time frame indicates that the market's bearish, such as weekly or daily time frame indicates that the market's bearish, then instead of looking for buy setups, it might be more, in your favor to start looking for only, sell setups instead. That could possibly increase your win rate. I don't want to give this as financial advice. Um, I'm just giving this info from my personal experience. And what else? So your mind picks up things you've seen before, such as market tone. Maybe it might feel off, especially might be feeling off if you're not, the current time isn't really in a kill zone time or an overlap, such as London session and Asian session overlapping around 3 o'clock in the morning, or maybe New York session and London session opening or colliding with each other. Um, and momentum could or liquidity isn't acting normal. So maybe there might not be volatility, maybe market structure isn't really moving in your favor. And then, you're looking for bearish signals, but the market just keeps on creating higher and higher and higher structure. That could be in a way that could be liquidities acting different than what you would expect. Momentum feels weaker. So if momentum's feeling weaker, market structure could also be a factor in there. Price reaches your level but acts differently. That's pretty similar to what I just said. Um, the I would say the feeling after having a winning streak, um, wins can create overconfidence. Intuition helps you slow down. So having a winning streak throughout the week, I've noticed from personal experience that if I have, wins between Monday and Wednesday, in the past, I've lost all of my profits plus more by, Thursday or Friday. And I would reflect to myself and say, hey, like, what could I do better next time? I reflect a lot, and reflecting is one of the most important parts of this journey. Personally for myself, and I think for everyone else, I would highly recommend reflecting, just because it's good to know where you're messing up. Everybody as a trader, as an independent trader, has their own, thoughts. Everybody has their own thoughts. They have their own character. Everybody's grown up differently. Everybody's got exposed to different information. Nobody's 100% the same. And that's why it's important to reflect and journal, so that you can learn yourself, because this is not only learning about the markets, this is also learning yourself, because we've all had different experiences, like I've said. If you have read, I believe it was in the Disciplined Trader, or it was Trading in the Zone. Mark Douglas says that, I think it was the Disciplined Trader. Mark Douglas says that you could have met a dog for the first time in your life. You got introduced to a pet dog, somebody's pet dog, and the first time that you got introduced to a pet animal like a dog, and it bites you, no matter what type of dog it is, a Chihuahua, right? Everybody knows a Chihuahua is a small, tiny dog. They bark a lot, and or are just they have a lot of anger built into them a lot of times. And if you got bit by a Chihuahua, although they could be, nice, friendly dogs, for the first time of you seeing a dog, but it bites you, you know, um, Mark Douglas says, the experience going forward, anytime this person who just, had a bad experience for the first time with a dog is likely going to, um, have a negative connotation attached to every single dog going forward. So those are mental blocks in your mind that not everyone has, but it's good to be aware of it so that going forward, you can start shifting your mind and creating a better mental framework, allowing other ideas to, and other ideas and other strategies in your mind so that you can just build off of those awarenesses that you have internally. Then, your mind picks up on things you've never seen before, so market feels off, liquidity. So I went over that. Setup is valid, but something feels off. I'm starting to rush. Okay, so especially I would say not only having a winning week, but also having a losing week. Like many traders talk about the wins, but they don't necessarily or always talk about the losses. Losses are less spoken about than wins. Um, I normally share my losses and I share my wins, especially when I show you guys my profit and loss statements, with my TradeZella account, since that's an automated system that I use to journal my trades. It's a very friendly resource for myself. I used to use Notion, but I stopped because it was more manual when I started using Notion versus now when I'm using TradeZella, everything's automated. I just synced the account, and now it just does everything for me typically. Um, yeah, so like if I'm on a losing streak, and there's times where I'd have like four back to back to back to back losing days, and then I'd just be like, you know what? Before I, crash out, let me just step away from the market, and then I'll be back. I'll show back up next week. Maybe, over the course of these next few days, over the weekend, I will take advantage of the time off and listen to some good trading audio by, a couple different people. Um, or listen to some podcasts and stuff like that. And or read, you know. Um, let's see what else. So I'm starting to rush. You can notice that you're starting to rush setups, and if you see that you're getting into a lot of trades recently, not really thinking too much about the trade before entering, you can many times I'll find myself rushing, getting into the trade, and then I'll tell myself I am rushing this too much. I need to take a step back, and I'll be my personal mentor, and then I'll just close out the trade regardless of if it's in profit or not in profit. I'll just close the trade and then I will just come back later. Then, so you have to be your own personal coach, in my experience. Um, don't give back gains by forcing trades. So that kind of explains that a little bit. Acts like an internal risk management or manager, yeah. So you want to act like an internal risk manager or personal coach for yourself. Taking, time off, taking maybe days off or maybe even a week. I personally don't take a week off nowadays. But everybody's different. Definitely definitely stepping away, resetting your mind, breaks emotional bias and brings back clarity, return more neutral, patient, and focused. When you combine a proven plan, rest when needed, clean intuition, your execution becomes sharp, your emotions stay controlled, and your consistency improves. So that's what I've shared in the Education Hub section. I'm going to drop my Discord, my free Discord community link down below in the description. If you guys are open to joining and following along the journey, feel free, like, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys learned something from this video. What's your best takeaway in the comments? Let me know, and thank you guys for watching. I look forward to the next video, seeing you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching.